Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
Nerdcast Another week, another White House departure. It's time for episode 97 of the Nerdcast, Politico's podcast on the White House and politics. Tune in each week to geek out with us as we dive deep into the political landscape and the latest numbers that matter. Subscribe and rate the Nerdcast on Apple Podcasts. Listen on your smartphone here, listen on your desktop here. Datapoint, 25% and 10%. Those are the tariffs Donald Trump wants on steel and aluminum imports. Datapoint, 1,016,347. That's how many Democrats voted on Tuesday in the Texas primary election. It's more than the last time there was a midterm election, but still far less than the 1.5 million Republicans who voted. Team Biden will far out options to take on Trump in 2020. Joe Biden knows that winning in 2020 would require shoot-the-moon set of circumstances and luck. So his team is on the hunt for a moonshot. Between stops on his book tour and in the ramp-up for what will be a heavy midterms campaign schedule, a tight circle of aides has been brainstorming a range of dear-up-the-playbook ideas for a White House run, according to people who've been part of the discussions or told about them. On the list, announcing his candidacy either really early or really late in the primary process so that he define the field around him or let it define itself before scrambling the field, skipping Iowa and New Hampshire and going straight to South Carolina, where he has always had a strong base of support, announcing a running mate right out of the gate and possibly picking one from outside of politics, and making a pitch that he can be a bridge not just to disaffected Democrats, but to Republicans revolting against President Donald Trump. They've also discussed an idea some donors and supporters have been pitching Biden on directly for months, kick off by announcing that he'd only run for one term. One person who's pitched the idea said Biden would try to sell voters on a reset presidency. The former vice president would pick a younger Democratic running mate and argue that he'd be the elder statesman to get the country and government back in order post-Trump and be the bridge to the next generation. Biden is thinking through a million unconventional options, because there is an acknowledgement that this could be an unconventional campaign, said one person involved in the discussions. Biden hasn't been actively exploring the presidential options himself, and is far from making any decision about whether he'll run. But, according to people who've spoken with him, he's already pushed back on the one-term idea. If he runs, he doesn't want to be a lame duck from day one. He's also not a fan of essentially accepting the premise that he's too old for the job and needs a pass to get into the Oval Office. The discussions reflect realities that Biden and his team are facing as they weigh whether to get real about running. He definitely still wants to be president but knows that his age will be a factor. He'll turn 78 2 weeks after Election Day 2020. As a guy who's been in politics for nearly 50 years, he recognizes how tricky it would be to run at a time of political upheaval. And he understands that if he runs, the regrets over Hillary Clinton's attempted 2016 coronation will guarantee a crowded primary field, which he'd have to both fully participate in and stand apart from. On Tuesday, Biden kicked off what will be a heavy campaign schedule this year with 2 appearances for Conor Lamb, the Democrat running for a House seat in the Pennsylvania special election. It was as much about trying to put Lamb over the top as it was about signaling how much of his 2018 will be about promoting people he sees as Biden Democrats, and cultivating the perception of him as the lone national Democrat who can campaign anywhere. Both Republicans and some in my party don't get it, Biden said in Pennsylvania. It's about our pride. It's about our dignity. It's about who the hell we are and what we've done. It makes me angry. It makes me angry when we're not respected, when you're not respected. He said Trump's tax bill was fundamentally about the rich stealing money that they didn't turn from working people, and he portrayed himself as a champion of national unity. I worry about the left and the right in American politics insisting on, only my we, Biden said. Looking at the environment, it's hard for someone who's spent his life in public service to say, I don't think I can play any role in fixing this, said the person who's been involved in the presidential brainstorming. In recent private conversations, Biden has described to advisors a shift, from people telling him to run because they thought he could be the one to beat Trump, to them saying they think he has the credibility and experience to do the job. Biden leaned into that argument in Pennsylvania on Tuesday, reminding the crowd that he was always the one who former President Barack Obama sent to Capitol Hill to make deals. As he started speaking to House Democrats at their retreat last month, he was greeted with a few "Run, Joe, run" cheers. His book tour, which has put him on stage nearly every week reliving the emotional trauma of losing his son Beau, has left him drained, aides said. Though they know that the schedule and intensity of a presidential campaign would be exponentially greater, they also feel like he'd draw energy from the crowds as a natural extrovert and skilled practitioner of retail politics. Biden loves to talk, and he loves when people talk to him about running for president. But he's been urging people to focus on 2018, given the stakes for Democrats, insisting that it hurts the cause if at every stop he's seen as campaigning for the sake of laying the groundwork for his own future. He was very clear that he didn't want the narrative to be about him running in 2020, said Robert Wolf, a major donor whom Biden courted during his last-minute exploration of a 2016 run, and who saw him recently in New York. He shut it down very quickly. The endangered GOP senator who thinks Justice Kennedy could save him. Dean Heller knows he's the most vulnerable Republican senator in the country. But he thinks Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy might just help him hang on to his seat. Kennedy is going to retire around sometime early summer, Heller predicted in Las Vegas last week, according to audio of an event he spoke at that was obtained by Politico. Which I'm hoping will get our base a little motivated because right now they're not very motivated. But I think a new Supreme Court justice will get them motivated. The 45-minute recording of the media-shy Heller shows a senator defending President Donald Trump repeatedly, breaking only delicately with the president on issues like trade and gun control. It's in line with the tightrope Heller has to walk to have any hope of winning re-election against a Trump-inspired Republican primary opponent and a highly touted Democratic general election challenger, in a state that Hillary Clinton won in 2016. Heller can't afford to lose conservatives by breaking with Trump, yet must keep a lane to the center open to win a general election. It's the trickiest political equation facing any GOP senator on the ballot this year. I'm not going to sit here and criticize him, Heller said when asked about Trump's flirtation with Democrats on gun control. Because everything else he's touched, like this economy, has been just incredible. So, I don't want to get too far in front of some of these policies. Many Republicans credit the Supreme Court vacancy in 2016 with keeping the Senate in GOP control, and making Trump president. Heller went on to float Senator Mike Lee for the job, calling the Utah Republican the type of conservative who could energize Nevada's electorate in the June 12 primary. Lee's office declined to comment. Mike Lee from Utah is probably on that short list of the next Supreme Court justice in our courts, Heller said during the Q&A session with the J. Reuben Clark Law Society in Las Vegas Friday. But Trump was clearly most on Heller's mind. Heeding the president's crazy tweets about North Korea, before quickly crediting him with fostering better relations with its neighbor to the south. North Korea joins South Korea and goes to the Olympics. And they say, the only reason they did that was because of President Trump, Heller said. The Nevadan once declared that he was 100% against Clinton, 99% against Trump and opposed early drafts of the GOP's plan to repeal Obamacare, much to Trump's annoyance. But now it's hard to get Heller to say a cross word about the president, whom Heller seems to view as an asset rather than an anchor. Trump's comment last week that he would take the guns first, go through due process second turned Heller into the president's explainer-in-chief. I think he misspoke. I can't imagine that this president believes that. I think today, he does not, Heller said. Negotiator as he is, he says, I'm going to take a big bite, just so that I can negotiate it back. I think he's doing the same thing on trade. I don't agree with tariffs, but I'm not going to criticize at this point until I see an end result. The senator declined to comment on his remarks. Heller's efforts to yoke himself to Trump could backfire in Nevada, a state where Democrats are betting on a key Senate pickup by knocking off Heller in November. In an interview, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Democrat Nevada, said that Trump is as much a drag on Republicans now as he was in 2016 when she defeated former Representative Joe Heck, Republican Nevada. I don't think it's changed, he not only could be, I think he is a drag, Cortez Masto said. And Heller is going to have make that calculation for himself. But I know from what I've seen, he's embraced President Trump. There may be no other way. Heck famously unendorsed Trump, then promptly lost to Cortez Masto. Heller is leaning into the triangulation that made him the only incumbent GOP senator in a tough race to win re-election in 2012. So when Heller was asked at the event about the special counsel investigation dogging Trump, he asserts that the probe should not be killed, before adding that Attorney General Jeff Sessions should appoint a second special counsel to investigate Democrats' efforts to compile damaging information on Trump. What I want is, the Mueller investigation to continue. I don't want this thing coming to an end, Heller said. I would have had the Attorney General obviously do an investigation on the other side. They should be doing one simultaneously on both sides. I've talked to the Attorney General directly about it, but he's chosen not to do so. He went on to fret about potential Russian interference in the 2018 elections, which includes his own race against Danny Tarkanian in the primary and, if Heller wins, Representative Jackie Rosen, Democrat Nevada, in the general election. This is the most difficult race in America. This is the number one race in America, Heller said, adding later, they did manipulate our elections. My biggest concern is, I'm going into 18 and my biggest fear is, the Russians are going to try to do it again. Republicans say Heller is doing the best he can, given the tough hand he's been dealt running for re-election in the only competitive 2018 battleground that supported Clinton. After we passed tax reform, we've seen him do well in terms of the data that I'm seeing, said Senator Tom Tillis, RNC, the vice chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. And, he added, the president is very supportive of his re-election. Heller aligned himself with Trump's criticism of the Senate's glacial pace and arcane rules, which have slowed the pace of confirmations and contributed to the failure to repeal Obamacare. Though some credit Heller's early criticisms of the GOP's plans to repeal Obamacare with significantly dampening the prospects of health care reform, Heller, in the recording, name-checked Republican Senators John McCain of Arizona, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins for voting down the so-called skinny repeal. Articulating a major complaint of the GOP base, Heller said he wants to change Senate rules to allow much speedier confirmation of judges, something Republicans are discussing privately but which needs bipartisan support. Heller also complained about the 60-vote threshold stymieing his party's progress on the budget, placing himself at odds with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RCI, who is often attacked by insurgent GOP candidates. Our biggest difficulty is that Mitch McConnell likes the rules the way they are, Heller said. This 60-vote threshold that we have in the United States Senate, I'm tired of it. The 60-vote threshold blocked several immigration proposals last month. Heller voted for the president's plan, which failed to crack 40 votes. Heller supported comprehensive immigration reform in 2013, but said in Las Vegas last week that the two parties no longer see eye to eye. The senator sounds resigned to inaction on immigration reform in his remarks, a difficult admission in a state that is more than a quarter Hispanic. Republicans want illegal immigrants to work but not vote. Democrats want them not to work, but to vote. Think about that for a minute, Heller said. That's why we can't come together on a solution for this.